make assumptions, scientific assumptions, as well as geological assumptions as to what is going on in the cave. How is this cave likely formed? Where are the main passages trending? So that on the following day, when we go back into the cave, we can understand that much more about where we're going, and we know that this entire area of this cave has been pushed and there are no going leads.
Actually, finding the caves is one of the hardest parts of the actual expedition. The jungle is relentless. Paraswan is our camp manager and local jungle trekking guru, and between himself and Tomby, they're like Tasmanian devils with their parangs moving through the jungle. They are unstoppable. Parang is the Southeast Asian version of a machete, and just yielding that thing like some type of samurai warrior. They don't miss a step. They cut through rattan, they cut through vines, they kick over rocks, they knock down stumps, and just build through the jungle anywhere you want to go.
I was totally blessed to be on the trip, myself and Scott, who discovered this underwater river. We went down into Snail Shell. It was a practice day. It was my second day here. And we found this little passage, and we explored it. And here, 100 yards up this passage was what I've been dreaming of. It was almost like deja vu. We stumbled into this cavern that had never been seen before, and it had a clear freestone stream flowing right through it. Thousands of feet underground. It was just amazing, and that was the first step. This trip in Borneo, I really hope to accomplish a couple of things. And I know they're nutty, they're stupid, but a couple of things I want to do. One, probably first and foremost, is to catch a fish in a cave on a fly rod. There were lots of bugs in there that the fish were obviously eating, crickets and isopods, freshwater shrimp, all these little weird white things running around in the water. And it didn't take very long to catch that first fish, which was the catfish.
All right. Mr. Wizard.
Beautiful fish.
Wow.
Fishing in the caves. What a trip. I'd love to hear if anybody else has ever done this before.
Hey, do you know what your limit is here?
Oh, I think we're allowed 2, but they have to be over 13 inches.
Another thing I would really like to see in the wild is a cobra. I've always liked snakes. I've been around snakes, bred lots of snakes. And one of the things, even when I was a little kid, was to see a cobra in the wild. And if I could see it with its hood up, rearing back, I'd be complete. It would be a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. This is amazing. This is incredible. I just saw a king cobra. It was a beautiful snake. It was 5 or 6 feet long, and it reared up into this head that was butterscotch underneath here, had a black collar like a necklace, and had beautiful eyes. Just to be there and see that was wild. The other good snake story is we were up at North Camp on this log bridge that goes over the river. It had rained all night long and the river was in major flood. It was chocolate, it was boiling. And Steve Wright points upstream and says, I think there's a snake coming down the stream. And we looked up and here's this form, again about 10 feet long. So I dove in the water, went around behind it and grabbed it by the throat. And I didn't even think. It was the most euphoric moment. I was laughing so hard. I was swallowing water, and so I started throwing up. I'm throwing up and laughing and holding onto the stake and trying to swim. And it was pure, unadulterated joy. It ended up being great. It ended up being a 9-foot reticulated python. Everybody got to share it.
Well, without a question, though, he is the most photographed snake in Borneo at this time.
Most photographed. Look how alive that thing is.
Look at that. Isn't that the most beautiful thing? Yeah, we measured him this morning. He's probably a little over 9 feet long. And they can take food in complete darkness. They can sense the heat. Oh, right on. Isn't he great? So, you really don't want him to anchor his tail on something like this, like your ear.
Like your jaw? Right, look up, Greg.
My God. Isn't that great?
Come here, Monty. I think just wants to get out of there.
Come on. We could actually let him go up here. It'll be fine. Here.
Ooh, and I just got my camera.
He's going for the wrap.
Come here, Monty. I think just wants to get out of there.
You don't think he'll go in the cave and get himself lost?
No, I mean, the guy, they crawl all over here. Just let him go. Look. Okay, don't hold him tight. Then make him more tight. Just let him go. There you go.
Hey, we're saying goodbye?
See ya.
But the snake was beautiful. We let him go a couple hours later after taking a bunch of photos, and hopefully it's out there doing whatever snakes do.
Borneo is home to many of the oldest surviving plant and animal species on the planet. The moist soil is laden with bacteria, fungi, and an immense variety of insects that give the island its unique fauna and flora.
Here's the plant.
Oh, nice. So,
Steve and I were coming down last night, and we could smell it up there. Oh, there's something dead, something dead. I'm walking down here. This thing, it reeks.
Jeez.
How much sick?
How much fluid is in there?
Quite a bit.
Definitely think it's a carnivorous plant, though.
Oh, sure. Well, I think it gives off the smell.
Yeah, it gives off
Do you
the smell.
think it
Gives off
sure?
the smell.
And
Yeah.
it attracts carrion feeding
As opposed to attracting
flies and things. And they get trapped in the bottom of this. You can see where they get pollinated down there. There's little bristles.
Trying to climb up.
Right. They go down there, they brush against the pollen, looking for the smell, and go off someplace. Pretty amazing.
He's also looking for pitcher plants.
Right, we have picture. Oh, did you see the picture tent?
No.
We got to take them up there.
No.
Oh, they're awesome. They're cool.
Where?
About 200 yards up the trail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd really like to see that.
What a strange thing to do, you know.
I know. And, you know, with the size of these other entrances, it's hard to believe that we would go in there. But,
I really think, though, if man was made to go into caves, we'd all have radar. There's a lot of cavers that like to crawl, like to get in really tight spots. There's a lot of cavers that like to climb and do the really technical stuff. But John's one of the only people I know that loves to do both. With any luck, he'll pop out of this entrance.
You're right.
Or the entrance over there.
Let's go up to that entrance and see the
Let's
frogs.
check it out. Yeah.
I want to see those frog eggs, see if they
And
blow.
we can look for his light, too. No, really, sometimes, you know, we can find passageway that we didn't see before.
I can't believe you got through that hole.
All right. This is the middle entrance of Pepperleaf. This is, though, actually the third entrance that we discovered after surveying the inside last week and the week before. So what's really of interest here is that we found, I'd say about a half dozen, maybe 10 frog eggs hanging from a stalactite. So why don't we go check those out?
And if you look at this drop, I timed this yesterday. There's water seeping out of, I mean, this frog, as far as frogs go, had to be kind of smart. There's water seeping out of the rock. There's no real point source that I can find. But about every 50 seconds or so, there'll be enough moisture that comes out of this rock. It's going over the eggs, it's moisturizing the eggs, and it runs down here and drips off to this. And that's what's building this whole formation. And what's really trippy about these eggs is that a lot of frogs lay their eggs in trees and things to keep them away from the predators that live in the water. But there goes a drop. But they're over a pool of water. So when the eggs hatch, the tadpoles wiggle out and drop off into a pool of water. Well, there's no pool of water here for them to drop off into, which makes me think, leads me to believe that these frogs will actually return, and when these polywogs are ready to hatch, they will come in here, the tadpoles will hatch and will affix themselves to the frog, either in the frog's mouth or attached on its back, and then the frog will go out and maybe either make a foam nest on its back to keep him alive or move him to a puddle of water someplace. But that's all conjecture. I have no idea in the world really what's going on.
Also found a crab, cave crab. It's just strange to find these in this environment.
They have long legs. Everything in here seems to have really long legs or really long antennae.
It's amazing the different organisms that you encounter in these caves, and I think that's part of the uniqueness of the caves of Borneo, is that they're incredibly rich in biotic diversity. I think the insects are some of the scariest things here. You see these centipedes in the caves and you know it's something you don't want to touch, but at the same time you can't help but get close to it and look at it. Everything is my favorite. The giant huntsman spiders. Some I'd like to see from a distance.
For centuries, acidic rainwater has eroded the limestone walls, sculpting small fissures that have become the enormous hidden passages. One of the largest caves discovered so far is called Biocyclone, because of the strong gusts of wind that blow through its enormous chambers. The cavers pitch a temporary camp outside the cave they've named the Sarawak Hotel, because of its majestic ceilings and space. Half of Borneo's 140 mammal species are bats. In the labyrinth of the limestone caves, bats nest under the sheltering roofs and on the slippery walls. Bat droppings, called guano, are the main diet for a whole community of insects which sustain the subterranean ecosystem.
I love exploring. I love exploring new passage. I love exploring, period. I like going where nobody's gone before. I like the otherworldness of it. How it's completely different than the terrestrial world. It's akin to being under the sea or someplace I've never been or somebody else hasn't been. I do enjoy going underground, and it happens to occur in caves. Sometimes there's fear. I don't do it for the fear. I do it for the sense of wonder, bewilderment. As far as what I was thinking was just feeling that sense of exploration, and it's fun. Sure, something could have happened, but I didn't feel that I was ever in any kind of jeopardy. Everything was bomber. I didn't even think that I was really challenging my ability. Afterwards, I felt really good. I got a charge out of it, but it wasn't scary.
On the first expedition here, they found some archaeological sites, and they realized that they were pretty sensitive, and so on this expedition, one of the goals was to bring an archaeologist to help with the overall investigations going on so that the local government would have a better idea of their own potentials here. This site here is part of a complex of secondary burial